Means good. Hey guys, we are on screen a little bit early. Wanted just to say hi to you verbally because we're getting tired of typing. Hey Vance, you said it's way too cold here in Cleveland. Yes, actually, I've lived in Ohio for a long time and it was very cold, chilly.
Go Buckeyes.
Yes, exactly. Let's see. Jessica's from Atlanta. Alicia is here. Excellent. Tracy from North Dakota. Tracy, is it cold there? I'm thinking it must be cold there. Alicia, hello. Cecile, yay. Excellent. Thanks, guys. It's really great to see you. And Angela from Austin. Angela Southern, of course. And then Marco. Hey, guy. How are you doing?
Marco!
Excellent.
Dobro večer, kako je? My fellow Croat in the house.
Awesome. Then Nancy from Vancouver. We got Drea from Los Angeles and Maria from Portugal. Yay, yay, yay.
This
Hey,
is
guys.
like the radio. This is like TRL from MTV, like my generation. Like, oh man, Rachel just said my name. Oh my god.
Oh my God. Hey, so we're wondering from you guys, how many of you work for yourselves? Are you 1099ers? How many are freelance designers or whatever you do? Do you work for yourself? Let us know. Hey, Jason.
Oh, that logo looks familiar.
That looks familiar. I was just about to say. How many of you guys work for yourself? Let us know in the chat. Then we're going to get started. Also, let everyone know that we're about to get started. There is a share button somewhere. I think it's on the top right corner for me. I'm not sure where it is for you guys. But let everyone know we're going to get started here in just a second. Wow, excellent. Jim works for a company. Yes, you do. Freelancers. Sweet. Not no more. Jessica, where do you work now? John, is this being recorded? It is being recorded, so you can always come back.
I have to do my Instagram stories right now.
Oh, excellent. Cool. Everyone smile. Cheese.
All right.
Excellent. Do you want to post that while we're getting ready?
Yeah.
Go
you guys
for it.
answer your questions.
Okay. Love everyone said cheese. That's awesome.
CD room only in this webcast, so gotta get a couple more bodies in here.
Exactly, and we're almost filling up. We're at 136. Guys, share it out. Let everyone know. Let's fill it up. It's our last of the year because I want to take a little break.
Oh my God, are we gonna see Rachel? Are we gonna sing Christmas carols?
Are we?
I don't know, man. I sing it every morning to my kids, so I'm primed and ready.
You let me know. Lots of Focus Lab people here. Are there, Alicia? Who is it? Your company? Hey, Ravi. It's good to see you. Yay, Ravi is a Type Thursday guy. Sweet. Hey, Rosie. Yes, you missed cheese. So we weren't talking about cheese, Rosie. Eric took a photo of us for his Instagram story, so we all said cheese. Oh, I know you missed it. You didn't get in the photo.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. While I handle my social media like everybody.
Excellent.
Never ending this thing, is it?
I know. So how many social media accounts do you have, Eric?
40, like around 40, maybe 42.
40?
No. Title case that Jessica and I operate, and then Friends of Type, but I co-share the responsibilities with Jason, who's here. And then, of course, me.
And you. And all yours. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, everything.
Great.
Snapchat?
Great. I tried.
No?
I just got it, you got to give. And it's just, I barely have enough time to just exist in this world. No.
Exactly.
It was fun for the moment. I just recorded with my son like all the different dog filters, and he had a blast. And he got bored, I got bored, so we moved on.
Excellent. Oh, oh, here we go. All right, we are streaming to Facebook too, so that's great. Excellent. Hey guys, so really quickly, share out this event to everyone. We are going to get started. If you have any questions for Eric, please put them underneath on the Ask a Question tab. You can put them in the chat as well, but sometimes we miss it. So if it's something that you want Eric to answer after his talk, please put it in the Ask a Question tab. So where are you now? Eric.
I'm in my studio.
And
So this is the clean side, and then I put all of my trash on. Oh, it's not in view, but it's all over there.
okay.
But yeah.
And you're in San Francisco, correct?
Yeah, San Francisco in the Mission District.
Mission District, got it. And
Yeah.
your office is called Title Case, correct?
Yeah, collaborative workspace that I share with Jessica Hish. You guys might have heard her name before.
Mm-hmm. And you also hold workshops there, don't you?
Yes, in the beginning we did it quite often, and we were focused kind of on community building since both of us were. She was new to the area, and I was new to actually having my own space. Because prior to that, I worked from home, so we kind of wanted to see who else was out there and working for themselves, or just wanted to meet other creatives. So we would host these kind of like morning roundtables, and that was really fun. And then we both had kids, and I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. So it's slowed down a little bit. I'll probably host workshops again in the new year, but for the time being, the workshops I do teach are whoever will have me. So I travel quite a bit for that.
Excellent. Very cool. Well, let's get started, guys. It's 5 after. We're going to try to keep this under an hour. I know I say that every single time, and we sometimes don't. So apologies, but we will try our best. So let's get started. Thank you guys, everyone, for joining us today. I know there's a lot of people here. Feel free to chat. Let us know exactly where you're coming from. And also, we still would love to know who is a freelancer who works for themselves. Let us know. My name is Rachel Elnar. I am the producer of the Typography education program here in Los Angeles. And I'm joined by Erik Marinovich, and he's in San Francisco at the Title Case office. Thank you, Erik, for joining today. I really appreciate it. Been a huge fan of your work, of course, and you're co-founder of Title Case, of Friends of Type. You want to tell us a little bit about that project?
Yeah, actually, can I just jump? Do
Sure.
you mind if I just jump in the presentation?
Yeah, let's do that. I know you're going to get mad, but I think I accidentally closed the screen share. So if you'll, reopen that, I know. I don't know what I did.
Just kidding. That's great.
Thanks, Rosie.
How dare you, Rachel? No, all right.
All right.
Oh, look at that presentation. Does everyone see that? Yeah.
Can you guys see it? I think so. Yep. Excellent.
Oh, skipping ahead. Okay. Rachel, thank you so much for having me. And I've admired everything that you do and all the energy that you put into this community. So a digital round of applause for you.
Thank you.
Because a lot of work goes into it. So without people like yourself, a lot of us who work by ourselves all day wouldn't have a chance to broadcast the work and take time to actually think about what we do. So here we go. I'm Erik. And if you want to follow me on Instagram or the social media, since we've been talking about that, my handle is it's small right there in the bottom. It's a Croatian last name, so take notes. I'm in San Francisco, this beautiful island on Earth. This is the space that I share with Jessica Hish called Title Case. So it's a shared workspace where we host, like Rachel mentioned, workshops, hangouts, but ultimately from 9 until 6 every day, I have my head down and I'm working hard on my lettering projects. With that, Friends of Type, as Rachel mentioned, is pretty much the reason that I'm here, the reason that I'm here talking to all of you. This was a project that was started in 2009 with me and 3 of my best friends, all of which we worked once upon a time in New York at a branding studio called Landor Associates. Does anyone familiar with Landor? They are really big. They did FedEx, LG, like everything. Yeah.
Yep.
So during that time, I sat next to Dennis, Jason, and Aaron. And the one thing that we really had in common is that we had this shared piece of paper that we would pass to each other. And in it was just doodles of type. So it was just something that we would do to kind of like pass the time, or if we were frustrated, instead of taking a walk, we would just pass this pad and draw more letter forms on it. So we had this kinship from the moment we met. And ultimately what happened is that I left New York and I moved to the West Coast. I did a small stint in LA. And during that time, I started my freelance career. I was lonely. I watched the Lost series. And this one day I had a terrible client meeting, like the worst you could possibly imagine. As most people do, sketching for me is therapy. So I just did this total childlike phrase, and it said, "Thank you and fuck you." Pardon my French. I sent this to Aaron, and Aaron is like the brains of the operation. He handles all the, he's the tech, he's the IT department, as well as a prolific type designer and just designer as well. So I shared it with him. He's like, "You got to post this somewhere. Where do we post it?" And what ended up happening is that him and I came up with a name, and in 8 hours we launched Friends of Type. What was really great about it is that it was, at that time, a lot of the inspiration websites that existed were predominantly just aggregating work from people's websites or other places. What we were trying to do is develop original content. So in the first 3 years, we were pretty much posting one piece a day between the four of us. We also we would introduce a guest that would take over the site for a week and also post new content. So literally in 993 days, we posted 828 times. Of course, now that we're doing this full time, we've slowed down that ratio. But for me, it's where I learned everything. These are examples of where I started. So my background was graphic design, and I was doing packaging and branding, but I always had an affinity for drawing letter forms. But what's crazy is when I was in college, I knew about calligraphy and I knew about fonts and type design, but I never knew about lettering, which is a tragedy. And it might just have been that time I was going to school that the focus wasn't on it. So literally I had to kind of teach myself and go to bookstores and buy as many used books regarding on topics of type design, calligraphy, and lettering, and really kind of train myself through the work that I saw in these books. So what you're seeing here is really rough, almost sketch-like ideas. But of course, when I posted these at the time, I'm like, "Oh my God, they're so good." Now I look at them, I'm like, well, everyone has to start somewhere. And then as I carried on, that work started to kind of develop into something that was more illustrative, more detailed. As you can see in fun, inverse contrast, I was also learning that. I use flip the wrong way. And then I wanted to start caring where illustration in color became the composition, looking at letter forms with high contrast and figuring out if I could develop and illustrate letter forms that could stand on their own. Again, playing with color and something that's more playful, then also injecting kind of the attitude of the word or the character of a word into lettering. What a really good day looks like. Kind of turning traditional things that you see everywhere on their head. Again, focusing on how important the negative space is with lettering and calling attention to that in a script. Being really lucky to live in a place. So as you see, a lot of the work that I do is highly inspired by just the places that I'm existing. So California is just my home, and I wanted to create artwork in ode of how much I love it. And then again, you have to go back to those Helvetica moments. So, and there's a lot of parodies in the work that I do. So what I try to do is focus on making letter forms the hero and not necessarily putting too much attention to having a supporting cast like illustration and patterns in the work. Music is highly inspirational to me. So again, flipping that on its head and being nerdy, my brush strokes bring all the girls to the yard. And this was done in those first years of Friends of Type. Living in San Francisco, everybody's high. Keep fresh, stay rad. Letting a friend know how awesome they are and how much I appreciate them. As a new parent, I'm sure there's a lot of us in this room, what being a new parent feels like. Money isn't everything. And what trying hard looks like in my mind. So a lot of the things too, what I don't get to show is where the inspiration of all of my work comes from. So I want to share a couple of the actual images that sparked an idea. So this is a photographer, Peter Lindbergh, and he's a German photographer, like I mentioned, and this is Rosaria Dawson. And I just saw this somewhere, I'm sure, on the internet. And then I saw that sign, I'm like, oh my God, yes, I can make something out of it. And so what you see on the left is how I translated that through my mind and my filters. It's upstairs, and this is what came out of it. On the left is a grad poster for a local art college here in San Francisco, California College of the Arts. And I had pulled this off the wall and stashed it in my flat file. And then a project came up for Facebook. And at the time I worked with Tim Balonix, and I'm like, he prompted me with this phrase, give more than you take. And immediately I thought about that poster that I had taken off a wall like a year ago or 2 years ago. And then that highly influenced the lettering that I created for this piece for them. And again, it's marrying the sentiment of a phrase with the forms and shapes of a composition to really hone in and bring something to life. San Francisco, there's a lot of bicycle theft. So again, being inspired by your surroundings, I will do the PG version of this. This is a bike that I saw that was stripped. So it said, you mother, bleep, bleep, thieves, stay out of our neighborhood or I'll get your beep. This is a crude sign, and you can see they were in the moment, and I wanted to create something new for them. So again, I referenced that neighborhood warning sign that we see all throughout America. I'm a huge hip hop fan, so I took the Bone Thugs and Harmony, put them in a blender, mashed up, and recreated a poster for that sign. I won't read it out loud so you get it. So I went back to that bicycle and put it on there, and of course forgot my camera. Went home, came back, and the poster was gone. But I was trying to be a good Samaritan. So there you go. Again, sometimes you do work that gets ripped off a lot, but there is a form of flattery within that. And these are all the bootleg versions that people have taken of my designs and selling them on Etsy and so on. Those tie-dye T-shirts a friend took at the airport in Thailand, in Bangkok.
Oh my gosh.
But what am I going to do? Am I going to follow through and like try and get the $10 they made off of this stuff? But it's great to see sometimes how the ripple effect of work that you just make, that you're, again, either you're making it for a client or it's personal and you put it out in the world. And sometimes there's just those things that you make that, I don't know if it's like that pop radio station that people just fall in love with, and it takes on its own life after you. And these are examples of that.
Positive spin.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to flip through this project, but I'll briefly mention it. I enjoy working analog, but again, I'll draw a lot by hand, but again, it has to go through the digital process of either being photographed or scanned and then ultimately being sent as a JPEG or an Illustrator file. So this was a project that I did with Katie Barcelona for Mohawk, and it was a envelope sample book. And the idea that they had was, how do we tell the story of Envy and Lope and how they met as children, and then basically this kinship happened and they got married and they became Envelope. That's where everyone in the room says, here's examples of what that happened. So imagine if one of them had really good illustration skills and they were passing notes in elementary. So this is what that looked like. And then as their lettering and calligraphic skills developed, here's like a love note. And maybe they got into some black lettering. And again, professing their love even a little bit deeper. So I'm going to pass that and now get into murals. So one thing that I like to do in my work is, in my practice, is continually challenge myself. So if I'm only working small, like I did for those Mohawk envelope samples, I wanted to do something that challenged me in a way that I know I'd have to change the process in which I work in to apply them to a larger scale. So these are a couple examples of work that I had done. This was done with Friends of Type. The artwork was split between me and Dennis Pyongyang, and this is inside of BBDO's new cafeteria at their New York headquarters. And these are just phrases to engage employees, potentially as they're sitting and having their meals. And they're site specific, so they call to attention things that you might see out the window or conversations that might happen between the employees. This is lettering / illustration work for a restaurant here in San Francisco. It's a sushi restaurant. And again, looking at how do you take the attitude of that kind of dining experience, especially sushi, where there's a lot of etiquette, and kind of making it, teaching people what to do, but doing it in a way that's playful. And again, focusing on script lettering that complements the really bold illustration styles. And here's just a look of it in its entirety. I like to carve things out of snow. So here's examples of when I'm bored. I have a friend who's got a cabin up in Tahoe, and one time he's just like, we have all the snow on our deck. We need to shovel it off before it collapses. And I turn that into a new project. And so this is a 26-year project. So every year that we go up during the holidays, I will be carving out a new letter. So it's called Frostabelt. Just look on my Instagram. In the next month, there will be a new one.
What letter will you be on next month?
I will be on F, but it's also determined how much snow is up there, and things are warming up in the world. So hopefully will make it to Z in 26 years, but that's the intention. I'm going to fast forward through some of these because I want to get to the one where I'm going to show a little bit behind the curtain in my Illustrator file. But before I do that, here's VictorScript, is a script display typeface that I worked with James Edmondson, who's been on the show, and he's just the coolest dude. I'm very fortunate to collaborate with such talented people. And how this came about was he had seen me draw these familiar, I have a familiar way in which I just draw my brush script letter forms. And so he approached me saying, Eric, can we really make this into something? I'm like, hey, I don't have the bandwidth. And he's like, we'll collaborate on it and let's just make it happen. So this is a look at my original sketches. This is an animated GIF. I can show you when I jump out of this presentation. I can show you actually the process and how it evolved into the letter forms that you see in VictorScript. A proud moment of it was just how many glyphs you have to make a script. So I believe the glyph count was almost 1,000 but
it's typical.
Yeah. Another thing too is as you make work, how you apply it. So bringing it to life, that's something that I had a lot of fun doing. It could be used in children's book or bootleg cologne that you buy at Walgreens. Of course, for me, is making the glyphs. I had asked Stephen Coles, has anyone drawn a portrait of themselves, type designer drawn a portrait of themselves and put it in their own typeface? He's like, maybe one, but I can't tell you which one that was. So I went ahead and drew James and I for this particular one.
Yes.
So feel free to use this when you're making a sign for your next garage sale. I'm going to jump out now and show you, I'm just jumping through a lot of stuff because of time. I've done work for Sprite, you guys know, but let me get to this one. So everyone tilt your head to the left, please. Oh, very good. You guys follow directions quite well. So this is a look behind the curtain. Almanac Beer is a awesome brewery based here in San Francisco, and I'm fortunate enough to have been working with them the last several years. And the relationship I have with them is that anytime they have a special release project, Damien, one of the co-founders, he just ropes me in. He basically gives me the copy and says, just do your thing, Eric. And this is that label in its entirety. A little bit of background. Blueberry Jack was a collaboration between two breweries. Stillwater Artisanal Ales is based in the East Coast, and they are very cannabis driven or inspired. So this particular product, Blueberry Jack, is actually a strain of a marijuana plant or a cannabis plant. So they wanted to have something that evoked letter forms that kind of evoked that attitude and maybe that lifestyle. And I'm going to jump out of this presentation really quick to give you a behind the scenes look of what goes into a project like that.
Excellent.
All
So
right.
while Eric is doing that, guys, if you'll go into the Ask a Question tab, ask your questions there. Also vote up the ones that you have shared questions as well.
Okay, I'm gonna make this work here. I call this the madness. Every project that I start, I just do a initial research dive. Either I'll take a walk and look for inspiration around my neighborhood, or go through the internet and just quickly, maybe in an afternoon, find things that stand out. I don't necessarily know if they're going to make the final cut of inspiration into a project, but it's more of just like looking for eye candy and then having it go through my internal filter, and hopefully something unique will come out. So let me zoom in here of just kind of what's happening. So this is just literally, I'm just throwing all this stuff in here. And I tried to, although it looked like quite a bit of stuff, I try to limit what I actually put in there. And what ultimately happens, oh, this is so fun to do, show all this work. What ultimately happens is letter forms start developing. So I'll always start kind of with the centerpiece of the label, if it's a packaging project. And then I kind of make that center stage, and then I build the rest of it. I build the rest of the label around it. So this is kind of a look of a start. So now I'm going to jump out of this and then show you how it developed even further.
It's like the cleanest desktop ever.
Oh, you should have seen it an hour ago. So again, as I mentioned, looking at kind of what the focal point of the label will be and starting from there and then building around it. So this is the start. And then usually what happens is it'll jump into something more crazy. I'll start there and then I'll start building the DNA around it. So again, the swirls, that idea of smoke, kind of trippy, lucid supporting elements. And of course, what happened here is you'll see these three stages. That top one, it's pretty intricate. There's some really fine lines between the thick and the thins. And then, of course, I show the printer, and we had spoken about doing foil stamping. He's like, Eric, you know better. These lines are way too thin to hold. Like, come on, man. What are you, just get out of school? But I'm like, but I know it has to be delicate. And he's like, sorry, man, rework this. So the second option and then that third option are look at literally having to redraw the artwork 3 times to get it thick enough to work for the production side of this label. So there are always these moments in which you have this really good idea and then you pursue it, but then you have these production limitations that maybe you don't put in your mind as you're producing this, that you ultimately have to revise. So this is a case that, you know, this just happens, but you just have to see it through. So you just have to put on your hard hat and keep digging. And then this last one's a look at the final one. So you can see throughout the DNA has been there. Yep.
So the government warning wasn't printed in foil, was it? That's what
no, it's not. Yeah. It was. They passed it through. They just matched the Pantone to the foil. But oddly enough, there's like next to no regulations on alcoholic beverages. It is outstanding. Literally, they're like the ABV has to be like 9 point, and then it has to be above 9 point.
That's it.
Yeah. Yep. Actually, hold on one second. My circuit breaker just went out. I'll be. Hold on.
Okay. It's okay. I can still hear you. Hey guys. Yes, I know. We heard the pop too.
Hold on. Here, we're back. Hold on.
Let's see. We can
There we
see your
go.
screen. Okay.
Okay,
We can't see you though, or I can't see you. Guys,
That's
can you
fine.
see Eric?
I just
Oh,
recently got a heater because my office space is 2 degrees. It feels like Cleveland inside here. So, all right. So that's that. I'll just keep chugging along. Hopefully my video shows up.
I undid your video. You're kind of stuck, but it's all good.
Okay, great. And then, Rachel, tell me how we're doing on time really quick.
We're good.
Okay, cool.
This is all about Erik today. So
Awesome. I'm going to show you behind the curtains of one more thing, just because it's fun to show the process, because I think a lot of the times we show final artwork and maybe it comes off feeling, oh, that looks effortless. But the things that feel effortless are often the things that I find are really hard to get to. So being patient and pursuing something long and hard to get it to the point that you want it to be is something that I work on and struggle with at times a lot. But I'm currently doing a series, kind of a personal series. It's called 10by17.co. You can actually look it up right now. It's run by Erik Mortensen and Richard Perez, where they ask a bunch of artists to pick their 10 top favorite albums and reimagine the cover artwork for them. So I'm currently just launched my 4th favorite album today, but my 9th favorite album was this Princess Nokia. She's a hip hop artist out of New York. And I kind of wanted to show you how I made that post. So how about we start off with showing you what the original one looks like.
okay.
The one that I posted looks like. Now you get to see how the real files look. Ooh, lucky you guys, in for a treat. So this is the one that I posted, and this is how it looks. So let's minimize this down.
Beautiful.
So, but this is how it came about. I've been exploring, for this entire series, I'm looking at just using puffy paint and seeing how puffy paint has a lot of limitations. So I'm trying to see, like, after making 10 pieces of artwork, if I can learn enough about that new tool and see if I can extract something new from it. So for Princess Nokia's album artwork, if you look here on the right, just took my puffy paint and drew this out, which ultimately ended up being what you saw for the final. Oops. Can you open that again? So the transition is pretty great. I just use, everything's very lo-fi in my practice. I use my iPhone to photograph this. One thing that I like using your phone is that, I'll draw this on a piece of paper, but then I'm using the lens to kind of warp the actual letter forms in a way that I cannot manipulate or have as much control if I'm using Photoshop or Illustrator. And it's really advantageous. That was done back in the day. Anytime you see like skewed type, a lettering that was, say, done in the 60s and 70s, they were just using the camera to basically warp and create a new perspective for those letter forms. And here's...
Icing might be next, right, Erik?
What's that?
Icing might be next.
Yeah. You never know. I might get into, there's a lot of awesome food lettering artists out there, so I don't want to step on any toes. So this is a look at the secondary information, which was the album title. Let me close this out.
Nice.
And then what happens here is I go through a crazy, oh, this is so fun to show you. I never get to show anybody any of this. Wow. So then I go through a series of just taking that information. So again, I photograph it, bring it into Photoshop, clean it up enough that I can start playing and laying out the letter forms and seeing how they interplay with one another. Because when I'm drawing this out by hand, I'm not necessarily thinking of composition. Composition comes in the later stage of my exploratory. So this is just kind of a look at, literally, like, that last one was the first idea. This is the second one. Like, okay, now I'm bringing in the album title name. Oh, this looks pretty basic. That was just that one again. Oh, what if I use gradients? What if I lock up right aligned in the bottom corner? Again, what if I just embrace the goopiness of the actual puffy paint letter forms that I'm using? That's obviously the final one, but I'm just going to go through more of these.
So you're going back and forth between execution
all
and
all the
analysis,
time.
right?
Yeah, then you'll see like, what do I do if I put a flourish or a swash underneath? What does color look like? And then I save all these options so I can review them, because I'll get to a place where ultimately I get super frustrated and like, oh, it's not working. Go for a walk and then come back, review what I've done. And then usually at that moment, I'll come up with a solution. So this, I looked at, well, what if I make some sort of pattern in the background? What if I threshold Princess Nokia out so it's just a flat fill? Ooh, I kind of like how that's looking, but let me look at opacity. Let me blur it out. Oh, and then I make a big jump. And usually this comes after I call my wife to tell her how frustrated I am because I'm not figuring something out, or after my walk, and then again start playing with color just to see my options, and then it gets to the final, and I'll add details.
Wow.
Final finessing. So I think that's really great, and I often get asked, like, how do you create those letter forms? And I look to using tools, unorthodox tools, to find forms that I wouldn't be able to draw if I was using a broad nib parallel pen or a Sharpie marker, by allowing yourself, it's almost like tying one of your hands behind your back. Like if you're right-handed, it's going to the opposite hand to draw those forms, because I find it's in those moments that they yield the most unique results. So I'm a big advocate of really exploring, making space in your day to find and experiment creating letter forms that might not be out there, or are out there but are something unique to you and something unique to only what your hand can draw. So, and
Eric, this was all done in Photoshop. It was just dealt with
all
photos,
all
right?
done in Photoshop. Yeah. So, and then I'm going to do a quick intermission, and then I'll leave it kind of at that. This is just something I like to share. So you never know when inspiration.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
You never know when inspiration is going to strike, including when you are going to the bathroom. And notice that the lining of your underwear, you can make letter forms out of. It's probably pretty unusual, but if you're with a partner that loves you and you ask them to bring the camera in while you're on the while you're going to the bathroom, they love you. So here's a look at my underwear alphabet, and please give myself a round of applause for doing numerals and and additional punctuation. This is just something I like to leave every talk, because I think we have a moment of getting stuck in our head and being so focused on work and life that we forget to see those moments that really can inspire us to do something new or look at the world with a different tilt. So just please be weird and keep weird.
And Eric, you did not do 1,000 of these glyphs, did you?
No. Yeah. Actually, this is real time. Yes. I turned off my camera on purpose, and I'm currently live streaming from my bathroom.
Oh my God, I love it. And Nancy said, keep it brief.
Yeah. Oh,
ooh,
snap.
That's good.
Oh, God. Awesome. Love it. Let me just open up my PDF.
Okay.
Actually, if we have another moment,
yeah,
I want to just zoom down to the bottom of this.
Yeah. We're loving this.
Okay. Another thing that I've come back around to is that we have an amazing skill set, and that is producing work that a lot of people will see. We are the visual communicators of the world, and a lot of the times we put so much effort into our client work. Let me just get that going. That I think we need to have moments where we step back and look at how we potentially can use our skill set to make the world a better place, or present questions into the world that might make people think differently. So this is a quote that I love from Tibor Kalman: "I can uncommercial any commercial skill I have." And with that, I found inspiration of course, our current state in politics in America. I just wanted to create something that presented kind of what was in my head about the current state of politics. So I just made this poster, Hate Has No Home Here. I printed 1,000 of these and put an open call out to my social media channel saying, hey, there's a women's march happening in San Francisco. I have free posters. If you come to my studio, you can have as many as you like.
Wow.
And then the ones that I did not give away, I had sold on my website and donated the proceeds to the ACLU. And what was really great is seeing the passion, and for those maybe who don't have time in their busy schedule or just don't know what to say, they really carried this torch for me in all parts of the country. And it almost took a life of its own too. So the bottom row is just seeing how the artwork that I created motivated others to produce their own. And the defining moment was this poster got inside Trump Tower.
Oh my gosh.
And this was a screenshot that my friend sent me of like, are you watching the news? Because someone's holding your poster up and it's on CNN.
That's great.
And I'm going to leave us all with this note here, that again, being kind of politically minded now, because that's just the climate that we live in America, I rewrote the Pledge of Allegiance to say this, and I'll read it out loud. I pledge allegiance to the good, who unite for progress, that make a republic worth standing for, one people for a flag that protects the liberty and justice for all. So again, if you're caught up just doing your client work or in your head doing a personal project, think about how you can utilize your talents and broadcasting in a way that you hadn't before, because there's a lot of people waiting for it. So I feel like it's advantageous to put work out there that other people will respond to in a positive way. And finally, without Friends of Type, without my crew, Aaron, Jason, and Dennis, I wouldn't be here today. Really, it's about who you mentor with and who you collaborate with that will ultimately define the work that you make as a creative. So I recommend to anyone who's in a rut of just finding those people that are doing better work than you, reach out to them, ask to buy them coffee, and before you know it, you might be starting your own collective. So thank you, everybody.
That's wonderful. Thank you. All right, I'll close it out. Excellent. Yes, definitely build your own community for sure.
I'm going to try and get my video to work one more time.
All right, sounds good. So do you see yourself stuck?
Yeah, I think yeah.
That was great. Thank you so much, Eric. Appreciate it. That was wonderful.
I want to show you my heater here that plopped.
Did you just got this, right?
Yeah. Well, look at that, everyone. Everyone needs this in their cold studio. Okay. Awesome.
But definitely heaters and fans, they do take up a lot of electricity. So
yeah, as I just found out.
No. We heard the pop. I was like, uh-oh.
Oh.
Better your electricity than your knee or something like that. Yeah. So the project that you're working on is 10by17.co?
Yep, CO.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Very cool. All right. Very cool. What I want to do is just go through the questions. Sometimes I spend a lot of time asking questions and then we don't get to anyone else's. So let's start here. So do you mind? Let's get started?
Yeah. Right. Yes.
Okay. So Ravi is asking, how did you get your start into lettering, and what were some obstacles or struggles that you encountered and overcame on your way to lettering greatness? Any tips? Would be grateful.
Any tips is as you are making it, don't think about how people are going to respond to it. I feel like there's a symbiotic cycle that you can go through that I try to push myself in a way that I'm making work for me. I'm not making work for anybody else. So if people respond to it, since we live in this kind of social media, catalyst, and that I think inspires people to make more work. Ultimately, what people are going to respond to is if you make work that's genuine to you. So the things that help me get through moments where I had maybe a creative block was I always reverted back to the things that made me be creative, and the things that sparked my interest are skateboarding, music, hanging out at a coffee shop and just talking to the old guy in the corner that you know has the best stories. Those are the things that spark new ideas. So a lot of people ask, like, where do you even get started? It's going to the record store and buying an album, or opening Spotify and spending an hour just listening to new music. Like, listen to it for a second, see what that related artist to the person you're listening to at the moment is. And then ultimately what you find is that you'll hear something, there'll be some sort of tempo, even in music, that translates into a color palette in my head that I might not have seen before if I hadn't listened to that song, or separated myself from working to have time to actually just think about something else. So, and then as far as like drawing letter forms, I was self-taught in a way that I basically just got to explore what I thought was right. It isn't until recently that I've focused on learning more about how traditional letter forms are actually supposed to be drawn, what tools they're drawn with. But by allowing yourself to approach it kind of in an amateur way, is that you'll find some of the most interesting results. As I train my eye to see certain letter forms, what ultimately happens is that those come out of me. I always want to get back to the place where I was like Erik in 2009, just starting out Friends of Type. And I just didn't know any better. And I was just making things that spoke to me. It's good to know the history, as everyone should, but I also think you should be confident in the skill set that you have and really pursue and make time to just see what can come out of you before you start learning like all the history and certain techniques, because you have a lifetime to learn that stuff. What you don't have a lifetime to learn is just playing and being true to yourself and making stuff that is genuinely you, not something that someone else made before you.
And based on the end of your talk there, also community helps, correct? I know that you've been very involved with Type Thursday in San Francisco, which is a gathering of people who do type crits. How much has that experience helped?
Yeah, again, it's just allowing yourself to be exposed to what other people are doing and seeing what other people are interested in. Because what you'll find is someone will just bring some rare, obscure book into like a Type Thursday, or a conversation of like, hey, I just saw this new calligraphy artist out of Ukraine that's doing amazing work. Yeah. And it's the act of sharing is what propels you to, a lot of the times for me, stay more motivated. It's those who bring outside interest in that keep me inspired. So allowing yourself to like make time to go to these things like Type Thursday or whatever happens in your community like AIGA, and just having conversation. And some of the times it doesn't have to revolve around type. It could just be about like a new food place. And then you go inside and then that place has an incredible menu. And all of a sudden you're like, I need to make letter forms. I need to make that into a typeface because it's all hand painted. It's just like everything's connected. So
it's great. That's great. Yeah, I do notice that you have to keep your mind going and aware of things around you in order to keep putting out good work. You have to put things into your brain and then good stuff comes out.
Yeah. So, and it's just allowing yourself to exist in the world that you live in, and taking a break from work and certain life responsibilities to just wander.
Right. Thank you, Robbie, for asking the question. Yeah. And then Fatima is asking, would love some tips on how to get noticed, particularly by your dream clients when you're still pretty small.
Okay, that's great. The power of the personal project. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Friends of Type, because that gave me a space to generate work that clients weren't dictating me to work. So again, back to the following question was, listen to music, decide to take lyrics from a song that I heard and make that into a lettering piece. And before you know it, I built a body of work that was genuinely me. And what people are looking for when they hire you is not 17 people doing the same thing. It's the person that's slightly doing it different. And the way to cut through all of that is allowing yourself to make work that's based on your general interest, not making work that's reactionary to all the people receiving certain likes. you got to find that little niche and own it first. And for me, that was Friends of Type. And a lot of the projects that have come out and developed into personal work was, I had done one on Instagram called Hip Hop Hullabaloo. And for my love of hip hop, I found that there are these moments where, not moments, certain artists just have these like signature sounds or signature words that they say. And I wanted to challenge myself that, could I articulate what those sounds or one word that they say into a visual that was broadcasted and executed with lettering. And I just took 2 weeks, made a new body of work, put that out into the world. And then a year later, I get contacted by Sprite saying, hey, we're doing this series called Obey Your Verse, where we get hip hop artists. We showcase lyrics on the side of the can. We did it in-house last year, but we have this ad agency who's working on some stuff. Would you want to pitch it? Because we saw this series that you did for yourself called Hip Hop Hullabaloo. There's some great personality in that work. Can you take this brief and inject some of that into this? And I got it. But the foot in the door was just that project. And it was me setting aside personal responsibilities to just take 2 weeks off and cram in this new series, because a lot of the times too is, if you have that idea, you jump on it, because if you have that idea, 3 million other people have it. It's the act of doing it first and seeing it through. And sometimes I'm not happy with work, but at the end of the day, like, I have to get back to paying so I can have a studio space like this. Mm-hmm. So sometimes there's just moments where, like, this is as good as it's going to get. I'm going to post it, and at least it's out in the world.
That's great. Thank you. All right. So the next one is, how does social media play into your business? Kind of tied to what you were talking about.
Yeah, I have this new philosophy about social media. So again, there's a symbiotic relationship that it's predictable about what people are going to like. And so I'm now kind of advocating the work that I do for myself is, and where I'm spearheading this kind of ideas with this 10x17 project, is pushing myself to draw letter forms that are just, you've seen them, but you're not seeing them everywhere right now. And it's not because I want to put something new out there. It's just like, this is where internally I just want to make something that's weird, that potentially there are no other examples out there right now. And I think it's responding to, if like something gets 0 likes, that means you're onto something good. It's because you're forecasting what potentially could be a new lettering style or a new lettering trend that is on the forefront. Because I found, if like, oh, cool, everyone's doing marker brush script, I don't want to be I feel like all the people that taught me were through these used books that I had. So the Lou Ballins, the Carnassis. And what I found is these guys were prolific because they could do anything. And I've been maybe that's just something I saw early, and that's what trained me to always push myself. As I get to a point where I like something, I dismiss it and then I try something new, because I think I want to be in that camp of trying everything, because there's a billion options for letter forms. So why just draw one style? Right.
Thank you, Martin. Just be your own Picasso. Get ahead of
I'm writing that one down. I'm like, yes.
Jim is asking, how do you gauge a fad versus tried and true practices that are here to stay?
Fads are like, if you go on the explore page of Instagram and that's all you see, like lettering on top of a forest, or
yes. Yes.
I think of it as music too. It's just like, what style of music do you listen to? Do you listen to the artists that try to redefine themselves with each new album they come out with, or the ones that are predictable and are just going to make hits? There's a place for both. And I commend people that could just focus on one thing and really refine it and master that. But I also like being able to look for new areas that might be unique, that might, again, push your work in ways that you didn't know you can get to.
Right, right. That makes sense. When we talk about choosing typefaces, we love things that are in traditional categories and classifications, but if there are new typefaces that sort of straddle, we know it's a little bit more
Yeah.
fresh than,
And that's why I love collaborating with someone like James Edmondson, is that he has the historical prowess, what's that word?
Prowess.
To understand what's come before, but he just has these moments where he can force, I think he operates off of his gut of just like, I see there's DNA of this out there, but it could be done better. So again, building that community and collaborating with those who see the world with a slightly different lens, and being able to kind of partner up with them to help your work get to a place that you couldn't get to because maybe you don't have the technical abilities to produce something like a typeface or a zine or a book, is finding those people to help you get there.
Right.
Yeah.
Or music.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jim. Heather's asking, can you talk a bit about the transition from Landor to freelance? Why did you decide to go freelance, and how did you find your first clients?
So Landor was like grad school. I was surrounded by some of the most talented, humble people. Like seriously, the most talented people I've ever worked with were there, including Jason Wong, Dennis Byongyong, and Aaron, who are the Friends of Type Collective. But the transition for me was, I started there, which was really big. And at that moment, they had like 2 floors and it was awesome. And then gradually I started working my way down. And the last place I worked at was a 4-person kind of startup design studio called Ito, which is now non-existent. But that got to show me that you get to handle more pieces of the puzzle. And there was something that when I worked at Landor, it was just like, here's something like a paper brief on the desk, like go. What I loved is being in front of the client and being able to talk about the work in ways that only you could. And I found that when I finally started doing freelance, is that I started owning my own destiny. So I could present myself the way I wanted presented. I could start developing the work that I wanted to start being hired for, not something that someone else did the strategy for that then set the guidelines in which the work had to be built around with. So I think for the freelance was just like, again, being your own boss and being slightly more control of where you want to take your career.
And gives you more freedom, correct?
Yeah, but it's a double-edged sword as well, because there will be moments where you're like, oh, hey, we're going on vacation. And then the biggest project of your life comes, and then you're stuck in a hotel for the first week while your family's hanging out in a pool.
That's still freedom, though, because you can still make that choice.
Yes. Yeah.
You have to be sitting in the office without your.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Yeah. Carolyn's asking for brush lettering. How many times do you draw the same words to get a satisfactory result? Do you compile and edit multiple versions together, or redraw it with a pencil?
In the beginning, I had more time. I just had more time. So I just sat there and I just drew and drew and drew and drew and drew, like till the sun set, until the sun rose. And then I would do so many iterations that when I got to a place, and then that's what I would scan. And what I found is that in that defining time in the beginning of kind of my lettering career is that I was developing muscle memory, because I feel like so much of it in calligraphy and just drawing letter forms or illustrating anything is muscle memory. And so developing those fine motor skills to kind of get where you want to with your illustrations. And with mine being lettering, I needed that time to just crank and see what I was capable of doing. As far as now, time is like a luxury. I have to expedite all of my process. So a lot of the times I'll spend like maybe 2 hours, just draw, if it's one word, draw it over and over and over and over, put them all up on a wall, star the particular letter forms that I like the most, then scan them, bring them into Photoshop, and then piece them together. Rather than like sitting there and like a sign painter, like I wish I had those skills, and I know I could get there, but for the time being, like I just need to be more efficient with my practice and my process. So that's what works for me. And a lot of the times too, if a letter form's almost there, but you just don't have the time to spend another 30 minutes of redrawing it to get it perfect, is I'll scan it, bring it into Photoshop, and then manipulate it. So you have to find the software or the tools that can give you more precise precision to get forms where they need to be. And I find that with Photoshop, that really helps.
Great. Thank you. There's no straight answer on that one, though. So
Yeah. Ooh, it's all over the place.
So Erik, we have time for one more question. I was wondering if you could click on the Ask a Question tab and choose one out of there.
Oh.
Just because we have some voted up, but there might be one that, you feel like you could answer that makes more sense to you. Any of those?
I'm reviewing them all. These are good questions. What marker or lettering substance smells the best or worst?
You want to answer that one?
Can I answer two?
Yeah.
Because this is a fun one.
So this one's Ryan's.
Okay, Ryan. If you're still here, Copic markers give me an instant headache. Like, I love using those because you can get some of the coolest letter forms out of the broad nibs. But literally, the moment I take that cap off, there's some solvent in there that gives me a migraine. I'm not joking. Yeah, but as far as smells go, India ink, it's just got that tinge of like, wait, hold on, let me get one. Hold on, where did I put hold on.
How about Sumi ink? Have you smelled that? Love.
I guess actually that's what I mean, Sumi ink.
Okay, yeah.
Hold on a second. Let me.
Let's.
Yeah, it's like sweet. It's weird. So yeah, there's that. Thanks for asking that, Ryan. Again, where do you find your biggest inspiration? Which is Carlo, if you're still here. Yeah, inspiration is key. I think I'm an advocate of knowing your community and being mindful of the work that of what's being made out there. And I'm speaking solely to lettering. But that is, again, is a double-edged sword, because what you'll find is like, crap, everyone's making better work than you. And it just, you wrestle with your self-confidence. But if you get to a place where you have a career and you're doing the work that you want to do, I think where I find inspiration is looking outside of lettering. So I'm still staying in like the creator realm, but maybe I'm going to the museum. Maybe I'm just taking an afternoon walk and deciding to like, hey, there's all these wrought iron gates throughout San Francisco in their people's store, and they're all beautiful and elaborate. I'm just going to go document those. And what you'll end up finding is that might be something you did 5 years ago, but then a project comes up and you're like, I can finally marry that thing. So as far as like people I love at the moment, Ed Fella, man, this guy is just, oh my God, he's just the best. I want to be like him. And I think more lettering work should look like his. Because honestly, I feel like the look of what he does and he's been doing forever is just what the world feels like right now.
Yes.
It's approachable, but it's kind of got some grit to it. And then Braulio Amato, he's like, oh my God.
Never heard of him.
This is his book he just came out with. He's in Portuguese in NYC.
Wow.
Oh, mamma mia. So,
gorgeous.
And then also finding vintage catalogs, vintage Japanese catalogs.
Oh, wow. And where do you find those?
Go to Japan.
Okay.
If you can. And then also old record albums and stuff like that, like huge. Look at that. This is definitely highly inspired from that 10 by 17 stuff. And that's an old, look at this. Michael Mulligan.
Awesome.
You know?
Yeah.
This is for the zoo, New Order. Wow. Anyways, so it's everywhere. And I think you got to look outside social media to like get you back to a place that will spark interest. And those interests will hopefully yield something like a cool new result.
I agree. I think when you get off your screen, you have a better idea of scale, better idea of texture, reflectiveness.
Yep.
I think that makes a huge difference. Thank you, Carlo, so much for asking the question. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Erik. That was great. And we actually kind of ended on time. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I really appreciate it.
For once.
I know, right? Yay, with Erik. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So I, again, appreciate your time and sharing your amazing process. You'll be doing more process today, right? Are you working on some projects?
Yes, I'm always never not busy is the attitude here. Always working and always hoping to make something new.
Great. And the best place to follow you would be on your Instagram, correct?
Yeah. I'll type that out here in the comments for those.
Actually, we have the link right below, so you don't have to do any typing. They can just click on the green button and you'll visit Erik's Instagram account, which has quite a few followers. I'm sure many of you already do follow him. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And what a great year of lessons. This has been awesome. And I really appreciate just you joining in on some of the sessions as well, Erik. That was great.
Thank you.
Are you staying in town for Christmas, by the way? Are you going anywhere?
I'm staying put. I'm going to Tahoe where all the snow is, where I'll be carving my letter F on my friend's deck. So again, be on the lookout for that. And I'm going to just take some time off and be with my lovely wife and 2 kids. So
well, have a wonderful holiday with your family and you guys as well. Thank you everyone for joining us today. It was great. Wow, what a group. Thanks so much. I'll let you know when the next one is. It might not be to February because I need some time off.
Yes, you do.
Exactly.
And shout out to Rachel for just kicking ass and being you just are holding this torch and it's so cool. And we all appreciate you, but since I'm here, I appreciate you and thanks for putting so much effort into this.
Thank you so much. Well, guys, go off and have a very productive day. Hopefully you've been and by Erik. I know I have, and I might actually do some lettering for maybe the very first time, actually. I might use the Copic markers. Thank you, Ryan, for bringing that up.
One question, one last thing. It wouldn't be, I'm throwing my own holiday party since for those of us who work for ourselves, and for those who love holiday parties, we don't really have an opportunity to go unless your spouse works at a company or a partner. So if you're in San Francisco, tomorrow, 7 p.m., Old Devil Moon in the Mission, be there. I have a link, but I don't have it ready. But
that's okay. You know what I'll do is I'll send it today
awesome.
To the whole list. And then if anyone's in San Francisco, please join up with Erik. I'm sure that'd be a lot of fun. And you have a lot of beer clients, so
yes.
So and beer.
Buy a ticket, you get a free drink and a limited edition koozie. And I just say limited edition because I only ordered 70 of them. So once they're gone, they're gone.
That's cool. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, guys. Be productive today and have a good day. Thank you so much, Erik.
Bye, guys. Thanks for having me. Thanks for joining me. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Okay. Bye, guys. Bye.